Let me ask you a question. What is the greatest fight of all time? I mean all time. Go back in time. Go back to when pictures first began or video recorders started recording video. And tell me, in your mind, from what you've seen with your own eyes, your feeling, what is the greatest fight of all time? And it's a question that I could ask you again later or next year. What's the greatest fight of all time? It might change your mind. The greatest fight of all time might have been the fight you saw last night or last year, or it might have been recent. People have short-term memory. The question remains the same. When you think about the greatest of all time, you think about 100 years of fighting. You think about boxing, mixed martial arts, back to Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, the real legends, the real ones that just stick out. And you know who those are. They stick out like you're in your mind really fast. There's so many names that just go underneath the rug and you don't think about. But the big names, the big fights, the ones that really made impact, stick in your mind forever. And a lot of people might have 10 fights that they think are so great. What is this GOAT thing and greatness? What is it about? It's like a drug. People can't get enough of it. They think that the guy they just won the title last night is the GOAT. They forgot about the guy that was the GOAT last week. If you ask somebody the question, you might get hundreds of different answers. I want to talk about some of the greats. Muhammad Ali. What comes to mind when you think of Muhammad Ali? You think Joe Frazier. That's what comes to mind. Those fights were intense. 15 rounds, the greatest fights of all time. George Foreman versus Muhammad Ali. And although I bring up Muhammad Ali first, it's their opponent that really sticks out. And sometimes the guy that you think about, Ali, he lost. Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield, right? That's what you think of when you think of Mike Tyson, or even Buster Douglas. Think of some of his great knockouts, Spinks. But it's the guy that really tested him, the guy that was ranked highly, that really went out there and tried to fight for their legacy. A man with a vendetta that really wanted to prove themselves. Those are the great fights. Those are the fights that are imprinted in our minds for life. Who is the star of the Ultimate Fighting Championship? Who is that guy that really gave us those great fights in mixed martial arts today, last decade, this decade? Who really did it? Ever since John Jones won that title from Mauricio Shogun Rua back in 2011, John Jones is the guy that ruled the sport. Khabib did great, but John Jones is that great that really takes over media. Everybody knows John Jones. He's been doing it for so long. He did it for longer than Khabib. And John Jones had never been beat. The Matt Hamill loss, that was a disqualification. John Jones inside the octagon is flawless, pure perfection. But has he been tested? You have those Gustafsson fights. Did John Jones really ever get his Evander Holyfield or his Joe Frazier? His nemesis, the man that had a vendetta, the man that proved himself to the world but just couldn't get the same amount of popularity. Israel Adesanya proved himself. He won the UFC middleweight title. So John Jones won the UFC light heavyweight title and the heavyweight title, which he owns right now. Israel Adesanya won the UFC middleweight title twice. And there was a time when he was undefeated. Adesanya represents something. He represents something. There's an essence to Adesanya that the fans understand. Adesanya was able to really go out there and capitalize, make a big name for himself. He's huge, but is he as big as John Jones? And right now you might be confused, but as time passes and these guys retire and you look back at it all, you look back at yesterday, you know who the big man was. And I'll tell you who it was, or who it is. It's John Jones. John Jones is the guy that did it. It's not Adesanya. Adesanya is not going to be remembered in the future the way John Jones is. The future doesn't have time for that many memories. It can only remember the great ones. John Jones is the great one. John Jones slaughtered, destroyed, did it in a way that was impossible for anybody else to do. He did it perfectly, incredibly. John Jones is the great one. When time passes, everybody's going to remember Jones. But are they going to remember Jones, the ultimate nemesis? Are they going to remember Jones having these great fights, these great wars with a guy that really tested him, a guy that was almost as good as him, or even better than him, a guy that really brought out the best in John Jones? That's what Israel Adesanya versus John Jones would be. It'd be a fight between the two greatest in the land, the kings of different worlds. You've got the New Zealander, Israel Adesanya, versus the American, John Jones. And John Jones is the A. Israel Adesanya is the B. They're so close. That's what would make this fight so great. I personally think that UFC should put their marketing muscle into a fight between John Jones and Israel Adesanya at heavyweight. It'd be the best way to see them fight. We would see the biggest, the baddest men, the biggest John Jones, the strongest John Jones, the John Jones that could wreck the most people, the scariest John Jones, the most dangerous guy that you could possibly see, versus the scariest Israel Adesanya. This would be the ultimate mega collision. And this would be the fight that people would remember for 100 years. The fight of the century. Without a doubt, the fight of the decade. Just imagine if the fight lives up to expectations. It could be the rematch of the decade. This is the fight that could take over the sport, that could really take over the entire world, have everybody looking at it, checking it out, saying, who are these guys? These are the guys. This is the sport. This is the match. I want to see it. And I want to ask you, the fan, what you think about this fight. And how you feel about the question that I started off asking. Who is the greatest? What is this? What is this idea of the greatest of all time? What does this matter? Why do people need greatness? Everybody needs inspiration. Everybody wants to feel it. They want to feel something that they've never felt before, see something that they've never seen before, and just feel that energy that rises them to a higher level. And that's what these two guys would be able to do if they fought. They would be able to first capture all the eyeballs in the world. Next, bring them to the fight. And then it'd be their job to fight the most incredible fight. And if they could do that, the whole world would clamor for them. They would be dying for the rematch. And John Jones would have so much to lose. Israel Adesanya would have so much to gain. John Jones would be doing it for his legacy. Israel Adesanya would be doing it to take his legacy from him. Could Israel Adesanya take John Jones' legacy from him? And if he did, Israel Adesanya could never make the legacy as great as John Jones did. John Jones has perfection in his palms, greatness in his feet. John Jones is the hero. So I personally want to see this fight so bad that I can't pick a winner. I think that this would be the mega collision. This would be it. The greatest fight of all time.